We're now at 12:03, so we just want to say thank you for attending the 2021 Solid Waste Rate Study noon meeting. My name is Brenda Clark from the city's Neighborhood Services Department, and I'll be helping out with hosting today's event. This meeting is being recorded and transcribed and will be made available for playback within 2 business days at tempe.gov/utility rate study. All attendees are currently muted. You won't be able to see others on the call other than panelists and hosts. We will open up the floor for Q&A after the presentation. Just a little bit of housekeeping on this platform. You may know there are 2 ways to ask a question. You can type your question in the chat box. Please scroll down and make sure to send to the option that says everyone instead of all participants. The second way is to hit the raise your hand button so we can unmute you to speak. If you're on a computer, the raise hand button is by your name. If you're on mobile, please click on the chat bubble. If you have dialed in, you'll only be able to listen in and we can make arrangements for questions after the webinar. The comment period for this topic is open through May 8th, 2021, can be accessed at tempe.gov/utility rate study. Pueden hacer preguntas en español también. Favor de mandar preguntas por el chat. So thank you again for attending today's meeting. I'd like to now introduce Terry Pekars. He will present for about 20 minutes and then we'll open up the floor for Q&A. Terry is the city's municipal utilities director and he's been with the city for 2 years. He is passionate about municipal utilities. Over to you, Terry.
Okay, thanks, Brenda. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today and participating in this public meeting to discuss the 2021 Solid Waste Rate Study. I'm Terry Pekars, Municipal Utilities Director for the City of Tempe. And in addition to Brenda and me on the meeting today are other members of the rate study team, including Amanda McKeever, Steve White, Cassandra Mack, and Paris Spies from the city, and Andrew Burnham, Kyle Stevens, Bill Zeberts, and Morgan Broche from Stantec, our financial consulting firm assisting staff with this year's study. The purpose of this public meeting is to talk to you about not only this year's solid waste rate study, but also provide a review of the city's solid waste services. Most importantly, we're here seeking your input as we carry out this important process. Your input is very important to us, and the team is here to answer any questions you may have and provide any clarifying information. As Brenda mentioned, please use the chat or hand-raising features in WebEx to either submit your questions and feedback during the presentation or ask your questions afterward. We will address as many questions as we can following the presentation. And as Brenda mentioned, again, we're recording this public meeting so others who couldn't be here today can view it later and provide their input and comments as well. So let's go ahead and get started. The 2021 Solid Waste Rate Study aligns with and supports Tempe City Council Strategic Priorities 1.27, City Infrastructure and Assets, 2.02, Customer Service Satisfaction, 4.04, Solid Waste Landfill Diversion, 4.12, Composting, and 5.01, Quality of Business Services. A robust municipal solid waste program provides the community with a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment that promotes economic development and improves the quality of life for its citizens. Funding for the solid waste utility is structured within a self-supporting, business-like enterprise fund. This means that services are funded by the rates, charges, and fees paid by the customers who use those services, not by tax dollars. The periodic review of rates, charges, and fees is an important component of a well-managed and operated utility. The purpose of a rate study is to evaluate the cost of providing services, determine the revenue requirements necessary to maintain the financial health of the utility, and recommend adjustments to rates, charges, and fees where appropriate to ensure that revenues collected are sufficient and that rates, charges, and fees align with the organization's strategic and operational goals. As utility costs throughout the country continue to rise, Tempe Solid Waste Utility is committed to managing costs and staying efficient while upholding the city's commitment to a sustainable future. Every other year, the city retains the services of a third-party financial consultant to assist staff in conducting a comprehensive study of the cost to provide solid waste services to the Tempe community. As mentioned, this year, Tempe's Municipal Utilities Department contracted with Stantec Consulting. The city's team of solid waste professionals is dedicated to providing essential services that keep our community clean, safe, and healthy. Solid waste services include collecting, processing, and transporting solid waste, including residential garbage, recycling and uncontained bulk garbage and green organics, commercial, industrial, and household hazardous waste for proper disposal, reuse, or repurposing. Additional services include compost inert processing and alley maintenance. Each of these services will be evaluated during the study. It's also important to note that these services are executed utilizing a fleet of solid waste trucks and a variety of other light and heavy-duty vehicles and equipment, and these critical assets are supported by a team of highly skilled fleet service professionals who maintain, repair, and ensure their reliability. The city provides once per week residential garbage and commingled recycling collection service to the Tempe community. Each week, approximately 1,000 tons of residential garbage and recycling is collected and transported for disposal. Volume-based pricing provides customers that don't require a 96-gallon capacity garbage container the option of downsizing to a 48-gallon or 65-gallon container at a reduced cost. This option is not available for alley residential collection customers. Green Organics curbside collection is offered in limited areas of the city at an additional charge. The city provides residents with several additional services not always offered by municipal solid waste utilities. These services align with community and city council priorities relative to sustainability and environmental stewardship. Uncontained or bulk curbside and alley collection is offered bi-monthly for garbage and Green Organics. Residents can safely dispose of potentially hazardous household wastes at the Household Products Collection Center. Zero waste days provide opportunities for residents to donate usable items not accepted in the recycling container to local organizations for reuse or repurposing. Customers receiving curbside or alley residential garbage and recycling collection service are eligible to dispose of up to 1,000 pounds of waste per month at the Sky Harbor Regional Transfer Station at no additional charge. The city offers a full range of commercial solid waste services for businesses, contractors, and multifamily residential developments in Tempe, including a variety of container size and frequency and flexibility and flexible scheduling of collection options. Recycling services include cardboard, office paper, newspaper, or a commingled program. Roll-off service is offered for those customers in need of large containers for disposing of construction debris or large bulky items. Delivery or collection of roll-off containers is typically provided on a next-day basis. During COVID-19, the city expanded outreach and offered enhanced services to commercial customers, including service delivery changes to aid businesses in right-sizing during the economic downturn. While special events garbage and recycling service is operating below full cost recovery, the city continues to explore new and innovative ways to encourage and support zero waste or low waste events. Tempe was the first city in the valley to process Green Organics and return it to the community as compost, saving money on disposal costs while conserving valuable landfill space. Inert material is screened, sorted, and stockpiled for future reuse or sale. Asphalt millings, for example, are processed and reused as alleyway repair and reconditioning material. Data collected since 2020 will be used during the 2021 solid waste rate study to determine the revenue required to meet current and future anticipated operating costs of the compost inert yard at various service levels, including bagging compost and establishing a competitive price point. It's necessary to establish these costs and set appropriate rates to recover the cost of the operation. Once rates are identified, they will be evaluated for market competitiveness, which will help the city assess the long-term feasibility of continued compost inert operations. Tempe has 165 miles of alleyways. These civil assets are not only important for solid waste operations, but also for police, fire, and other utility companies. The city's alley maintenance program executes preventative and reactive maintenance activities to city alleys to ensure that public safety and utility service maintenance and repair vehicles and equipment have reliable and safe access to infrastructure located within, above, or buried underneath the alley. Responsibilities include maintenance and repair of the civil asset or alleyway, and city code enforcement and abatement activities associated with alley ingress and egress. Code enforcement and abatement are necessary to manage illegal dumping of refuse and to address city code violations specific to the public utility easement and or right-of-way. The goal of the program is to maintain 40 miles of alleyway per year. In addition to the city's annual operations and maintenance budget approved by Tempe City Council, a grant-funded alley stabilization project for 4 neighborhoods begins in fiscal year 2022-2023, pending council approval of the city's proposed capital improvement program. The neighborhoods include Hudson Manor, University Heights, Clark Park, and Mitchell Park. The city provides residents and commercial solid waste customers with several resources and programs to reduce the amount of material landfilled. These resources and programs include educational materials to assist customers with source reduction, zero waste day events to promote the reuse and repurposing of materials not accepted in the commingled recycling container, the collection and processing of green organics and inert material into compost and millings for reuse at our parks or for alley maintenance, as well as commingled container recycling. These resources and programs contribute to achieving the council-adopted 25% citywide solid waste landfill diversion goal in performance measure 4.04. In fiscal year 2019-2020, the city achieved 23% landfill diversion. This graph compares Tempe's residential monthly solid waste charge to other valley cities. As represented in the orange horizontal bar, Tempe's monthly residential rate is $29.57. Although Tempe ranks as the third highest monthly rate, it's important to point out that Tempe residents receive additional services that residents of some other cities do not. These additional services reinforce our community's values and investment in a safe, clean, and sustainable environment. The table in this slide highlights the additional solid waste services provided to Tempe residents compared to cities listed in the monthly rate comparison graph, beyond weekly garbage and commingled recycling collection. The cities are ordered from left to right based on the monthly residential solid waste rates, highest to lowest. As you can see, Tempe offers several services not offered by other cities, including volume-based container sizes, uncontained garbage and green organics collection, self-haul to the transfer station at no additional cost, a standalone household hazardous waste facility open 3 days per week, numerous zero waste events annually, curbside green organics collection on a limited service area, and compost and inert material processing. Although Tempe may not be the least expensive solid waste service provider in the valley, the programs and services offered reflect the values of the community, customers, and city council. It's important to note that we are not the most expensive solid waste provider in the valley either. The city understands that rising costs of solid waste services must be evaluated and examine these as part of not only the solid waste rate study, but in the day-to-day management of the solid waste utility. Tempe is committed to being stewards of the community's financial resources while maintaining the community's goals. There are several components to a comprehensive solid waste rate study, starting with the utilities revenue requirements. The utilities revenue requirements represent the total amount of money a utility must collect from customers to pay all costs of providing the service. This is determined by identifying all current and estimated future operations and maintenance and capital costs over a 10-year period. This process ensures that the utility will have enough revenue to fund services and meet its reserve fund balance policy. Once revenue requirements are determined, the next step in the process is proportional cost allocation. The study is developed utilizing industry standard best practices in the United States. Following the standard, costs are allocated proportionally to each customer class based on the true cost to provide the solid waste services to that class. Once the utility's revenue requirements have been determined and costs have been allocated proportionally by customer, the next step in the process is rate design. Rate design is the development of the most appropriate rate structure to satisfy an organization's strategic and operational goals. Objectives can range from promoting environmental stewardship and sustainability to minimizing customer affordability concerns to promoting economic development. Rate design also includes an analysis of the impact of proposed rate adjustments or rate structure changes on utility customers. This analysis includes seeking a feedback from city leadership, city council, and the community, and making adjustments where appropriate. The ultimate success of any rate study is largely dependent on communication. Communication throughout this process is key to ensuring utility customer involvement and understanding of the rate study process and data, the potential need for adjustments, national trends, and council priorities. Active stakeholder participation is an effective way of involving the community served and the respective customer classes, receiving input and ensuring transparency, and is vital to a comprehensive rate study process. Working with our partners in neighborhood services, communication and media relations, and strategic management and diversity, we will engage customers in the community in a number of different ways. A public involvement plan has been developed that incorporates the equity and inclusion objectives of the organization and will be executed to ensure broad community engagement. Outreach efforts will include hosting 3 public meetings, in-person outreach events at community centers, 2 public comment survey periods, the first to collect input to be considered in the rate study process, and the second to gather feedback on the recommendations of the rate study, utilization of a regularly updated rate study webpage, a marketing campaign that includes traditional printed materials and a digital effort through social media, and formal presentations to Tempe's Neighborhood Advisory Commission, Sustainability Commission, and the Escalante Neighborhood Association. Before the rate study recommendations are considered for adoption by the City Council in the fall, staff will provide the mayor and council members with a comprehensive public input summary. The 2021 solid waste rate study is underway. Data collection has commenced and numerous working meetings between city staff and our financial consultant have already occurred or are scheduled. Additional presentations, public meetings, and a public comment survey will occur throughout the spring and summer. Over the next several months, these efforts will continue as we execute the study. In August, we'll return to the City Council to provide the results and recommendations of the study, and thereafter public outreach will continue as we seek customer and community input on the study results and communicate potential impacts. These efforts will include an additional public meeting and comment survey. In October, City Council will be asked to consider adoption of any proposed solid waste rate adjustments. If adopted by Council, the new rates will become effective in January 2022. As mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, the purpose of this public meeting is to introduce you to the 2021 solid waste rate study and seek your comments and input for consideration as we work through this important process. Again, your input is very important to us. If there's a particular area of our service that you have questions about or would like staff to consider further during the rate study, we welcome your questions, comments, and feedback. I'd also like to bring to your attention that we have a public comment survey open until May 8th where you can provide additional feedback. Responses provided in these types of surveys are very helpful in informing our decision-making and the decision-making of the Tempe City Council. For information on the public comment survey and the rate study in general is available on our webpage, tempe.gov/utility rate study. And thank you for the opportunity to address you this afternoon and for your participation in this important process and for your continued support. Please again use the chat or hand raising feature on WebEx to submit or ask questions, and we will address as many as we can during the remaining time. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Brenda, for some questions. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you for the information, Terry. I don't see any hands raised up in the attendee list, so unless someone has a question, we'll give it a few seconds and then we will be able to go ahead and wrap up for this presentation. And just a reminder that we will also be hosting a meeting at 6 p.m. if you would like to attend. So with no further questions, I will go ahead and conclude this noon meeting of the Solid Waste Rate Study meeting. Thank you.